like to join on screen with me Sheng-Hung Lee, who is our next speaker.
Yeah, you hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you and I can see you.
Okay,
so welcome, Sheng-Hung. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're really excited to have you here with us as part of our program for Let's Talk Diversity. So Sheng-Hung is an MIT Age Lab researcher, a course experience designer, and vice chair of Industrial Design Society of America, IDSA, the Boston chapter. He is trained as an industrial designer and electrical engineer, and his approach to problem solving is influenced by his passion for how design and technology impact and can be integrated into society. So I think you're going to share a little bit about your research and your work today, as well as some personal reflections around the topic of diversity in design. So without further ado, I'll hand it off to you, Sheng-Hung, and then I can jump back in at the end if there's any questions that come through from the audience.
Perfect. Thank you, Sarah. I apologize, my voice a bit. I need some recovery, but it's great to see everyone here virtually. And I really miss Alex because we worked together at IDSA before. And anyway, today I'm very happy to share my work and around diversity about curriculum design. Before that, let me quickly share my screen. How can I share my screen? Is it possible to share my screen here?
Yeah, you should be able to share your screen if you hit the green share screen button at the bottom.
Cool. You guys can see this, right? Display full screen. Okay, this is great. Cool. Good. So today I'm going to talk about diversity in design education, apply human-centered design to curriculum. And very happy, quickly introduce myself, designer, and now I'm back to campus, back to school at MIT, study engineering and business. And I now work for MIT Age Lab and also MIT Office of Sustainability and also MIT xPRO. So very diverse, different lab, tackle like aging population issue, tackle like sustainable issue, tackle like learning issues. So super busy, super packed, but very wonderful, great experiences so far. And then I also work for Design Continuum and also IDEO, and now currently as the vice chair for IDSA Boston. Very happy to be part of the community and also teach at school before. And if you see this topic, I try to break down like 3 circles. So education, curriculum, diversity, design. And from my gut feeling, I feel like education is the biggest one because very diverse and different discipline, different topic. And for the curriculum, it's relatively small because it's more like content part. And then design is not that big. It's the third. It's like, yeah, we have some design component. We think about user experiences. We think about like how people taking classes, what's their feedback of the classes. And also for the diversity part, I feel it's the smallest one because I do have some in-person experiences with this topic. I'd love to share with you guys today. So the project is kind of like overlap with all these 4 circles. And the quick story, the background story I want to share is about my MIT Course 16 story. And basically, MIT, like we use number to represent different departments, classes, and Course 16 means represent like department of our astro. It's about the space. It's about the physics, right? And then these are the classes I'm interested in, and you can see I take the class called Fundamental of System Engineering. It's a course 16842. It's pretty weird when I learn how to like say, okay, I take like 16 class, course 16 class. Now I'm very get used to it. Like 16842 class is called Fundamental of System Engineering, and it's basically taught by Ed Crawley, and they talk about some the basic principle knowledge, the framework about like system engineering, and how does that apply to our astral space. And funny things like my classmates mostly from military and NASA. So I'm the only designers in the class. And this photo is from Professor Edwards' like website. So basically, imagine like you sit with not that many people. It's about like 25 people, I guess, and 90%, 95% all like hardcore engineer from military, from NASA, and then I'm kind of the only designer in this class. And then I still remember that moment. It's like, I think it's the first or second class. Professor Ed Crowley said, "Hey, so this is like a moon rover, and then what do you think? What are the things or modules or system are missing? And then we need to build to build a better rover in the future." That's kind of the question I kind of got in this class, and then so the answer is supposed to be like, okay, if you see this diagram from NASA, they have like communication system, they have mobility system, they have energy system, right? There's like very different components to kind of like to compose this like rover on the moon, and it's very obvious for most students in class, but for me, you know what I'm talking about? I'm talking about honest feedback. And this is so funny. Like when I raised my hand and said, okay, honest feedback, because in order to have a great solid system, you have to create like a feedback loop for the system, right? So that's why I say honest feedback. And then Professor Crowley replied to me, "Oh my God, you're so soft." So this is the moment when I know this topic this year we talk about diversity. I think, oh my God, this is such a great experience I had. Like because you're the only designer in the class, and then you provide different perspective, and then it's very interesting that professor loved this idea, loved this answer, but at the same time he also feel you are so different, you're unique, and that makes me think about the diversity in our for most of the class we take, not just design class actually, most of the class education we have, and I also from this class I'm I didn't afraid. I feel like I kind of stand in front of everyone and say, okay, I want to show them the power and the importance of design and design process. So that's kind of the thing I want to kind of emphasize and want to focus on. I show them the power of design, and then I didn't follow the traditional way of doing presentation. Like, hey, you just do like follow the template, follow the format that this class professor provide. I kind of create my own format, create my own template for this class. So you can see these are the storyboard that I create for this class, the class assignment. And then I try to use this kind of visual way to tell the story, tell what I think about the plan, the ideas for some challenges that we're going to face and going to tackle with. And also like the cool things, like I also think about we should be more interactive. This is all before COVID, like 2019. So like maybe in the presentation, we just plot on two posters and then put like hope spheres and ideas. And it's very, I think it's very normal. It's very like common for design classes or consulting, like consultancy. You use the way to make people engage, part of the conversation. But think about in the context of like system engineering classes, in the context of your classmates are all like military or scientists from NASA, it's very different for them at that moment. So when I try to introduce this and share with the class, people are very excited, very happy about this. And then also professors also super open-minded, think, oh, such a great way to look at this topic. And then after this class, I also think about, okay, how can I push forward and how can I really contribute my design background, design knowledge to this class. So it's a great opportunity for me. And then they want to design like a online course for MIT xPRO. And the course name called System Thinking. And then because of this class, I did like a setup toolkit. And then the toolkit is kind of like empower, not just designer, also like engineering and scientists to look at the system engineering, system thinking in the whole different new perspective. And I would try to, and then somehow the people, the manager, the program manager from MIT xPRO online program, they saw this toolkit, they're super excited about this. And think about how can they diversify their learning online or offline experiences for their participant for this class. So that's why I become part of the core team. And not just serve as a role as a TA, but also as a curriculum designer. And also try to emphasize the diversity of our education, not just for design education, I think. So you can see like, when I try to write out this, like map out this journey, think about like content development, think about the confirmation, design the toolkit, the content, also think about the prototype. Like we need to learn, we need to know how to make a prototype to test our thoughts before we really roll out or really like launched this toolkit for them. So another way of working model for them is super exciting. So I think like diversity in curriculum design is to make the course participant experiences more complete, inclusive, and human-centric. And that really reflects to the way we design this toolkit. And today, I really want to introduce a little bit process about this toolkit design process and the story behind this. And before that, I really want to say big thank you for all the people who make this happen. Professor Ed Crowley, and also like the Beatrice, Professor Maria Young, and also John, people from HLab, from MIT xPRO, from my program, IDM, and also Ideation Lab, and Department of Aeroastro. And it's not easy, you know, when you're trying to bring something different, you have to be patient, you have to wait, you have to know what you're doing. You have to let other people understand why you're doing this, right? You want to bring very diverse, different perspective, why that matters to them, right? Because they have their own way of doing things more efficiently, and why they should listen to you as designer. And I'm going to quickly share about the toolkit development process. And like I said, I'm not the only designer trying to design this, make it happen. Also, the team members in this project. And then at that moment, when I finished that class and then had this opportunity to work on this, I signed a contract with MIT xPRO for almost 6 months to make this happen, because it's very new to them. So at that moment, we kind of reframed the challenges like, so how might we design a set of human-centered inspiration design toolkit we call IDT to empower and help students with rich industry working experiences from various backgrounds to have an immersive, efficient, effective learning experiences. So that's kind of our initial thoughts for this. And then we definitely do some literature review, like ideation, and then we focus on the existing and the previous system engineering education, some very important literature and materials, and also some creative toolkit. So that kind of helps us understand what are the things that we already have in the current market, and how can we differentiate it, make it very unique and different. And we also did a prototype, as I said, like 2 rounds for this courses, and this happened like last year during the summer and full time. And also we, as designer, I have to learn the existing like they call that pedagogical model. So they have 5 phases: explore, practice, apply, assess, and share. And then this toolkit is mainly focused on like explore part, because we try to make sure participants have new lens to see this topic and try to explore more before they dive into the core knowledge, the core content. So the kind of the cover design for toolkit, we have think about some different components, and also some maybe the QR code they conduct their personal dashboard online. So they have, every participant have their own like personal dashboard, and all the information is there. And then we'll try to position this toolkit as a set of human-centered system material to enhance the overall online and offline learning experiences, to make class participants fully engage with community and also the content, as well as enjoy the delightful journey with MIT xPRO. And I also reflect on this diversity, or the purpose, on 3 levels: individual level, course level, and community level. So not just about yourself, also think about for this course, and also think about how we're going to build the better like learning community for MIT xPRO. And then we also think about the tension for this toolkit, because it's very diverse, very open-ended. So it's less about like pre-work or post-work. It's more about a learning process. It's less about we try to, okay, this is a closed-ended or like very like yes or no question versus like open-ended question. And I want to become more interpretation intention, less about definition-driven product, And also think about this toolkit should document your learning journey. So it's less about, oh, we're going to pre-plan everything, like putting it on the card. No, it's more about like documenting your own learning journey. And then we try to map out the existing online learning education, like a platform, like in 6 steps. And then this toolkit is not only designed specific for certain steps, it's more for design in between steps. So try to connect the bridge and gap between each step. Some easy 2x2 to understand our position, online, offline versus reflect, learn, and create, make. So this, before COVID, we really want to make it tangible and also like interesting, and also people could get their hands dirty. But now COVID happened, it's a bit hard to do this like physically. So there's a bit, we try to bring that intention to the next round prototyping. So currently it's like everything's online. And then also, we also think about some keywords about this toolkit. So like maybe it's like more around adaptive process, flexibility, it's process driven, and also it's inquiry driven. It's for personal use and also tailor-made experiences. So these are like help us shape and understand what we're going to make for this toolkit. And sorry, I still want to make it like a full screen. That looks better. Yeah. And like I said, for this toolkit, we have like 5 components. So we brainstorming as a team, like, okay, where are the examples, the key visuals, the reflection icons, and the key takeaway is we still want to provide the content and also the provocative questions. And then we try to evaluate our concept. We use very simple way, like based on this 5 kind of components, we try to use like one dimension to look at, from not that informative to very informative. So that's the way we set up the prototype, and also want to know if this work for our like audience or participant, because for people who take this class, system thinking, they're also from they're like senior manager level in industry. They either work on like a airline company or like a system related companies, all like engineer. And we focus on week 1, so it took a lot of time for create this content, especially for key takeaway, the questions, because like when we talk about system thinking, it's pretty broad and pretty vague, and everyone has their own definition, and the MIT has their own version as well. So how can I bring that definition from professor, from lecturer, and also from designer perspective to really connect and then try to find a balance between this 2 part is really difficult and takes a lot of time for us to write the right content. And yeah, and then we do the analysis part. So we analyze data gathered from the summer professional development courses on the system engineering class. We're using human-centered design technique to synthesize tools and approaches that will be hopefully will be formulated into the toolkit that can apply to similar courses that may be developed in the future. So that's kind of our goal for analyze this data we gather from the class. So you can see like from the 5 components, reflection icon, visual, key takeaway, examples, provocative questions, it's more like people are very happy with like, I think it's key takeaway and some key takeaways and examples that are relevant, very new to them. And we also need to think about, we cannot consider the toolkit design in the context of participant experiences. So some people say, I like having illustrated example, but I believe the thought-provoking question and key concept could have more of an impact if provided outside of the card format. So we think about when and where they use this toolkit. And then we also want to use the toolkit design for tangible and virtual engagement. And like I said, because COVID is like, we don't have that chance to do the physical prototype. So mainly now is everything's like a virtual format. People say like very interesting material, excited to learn more and see how lots of this could integrate back to my home organization. And then also, we also think about how do we leverage the feature of different types of toolkits. So like I said, like physical, digital, and digital could be like phone-based app or a website, or like they could the design could be embedded to existing like personal dashboard on the system, MIT xPRO system. So people, some participants say, share with us the feedback, like the car are really only useful if they are physical car and that you can flip through. Or people say, I wish we have some reference material for us to review as we go. Having material like this, that would come in handy later on when I like to reference back to the material from the class. So we try to understand the different kind of format and features from different types of toolkit format in design. And also, we also think about the aspect of like practicality and aspiration of toolkit. Like I said, people are very satisfied on like key takeaways. You can see from the result, like 52.5% of people love it. I think that's super useful. And then also they also talk about very want to learn and understand more about how can I apply to the live relevant examples through the lens of system thinking, right? So people say the example were clear and gave me a lot of perspective. And some people say, I'm enjoying the new material and content. However, I still missing having a very clear summary and recap bullet point and card. So there's always the tension and balance between the key takeaway and the examples. So like I said, like we really want to use more like relevant example to illustrate the concept of system thinking, because some people say, oh, the example were extremely relevant, easy to understand, and very applicable to personal and professional situation. And some people also say like, I think it will be easier to engage or employ this thinking with more real world examples of where this has been used. So I'm trying to like, because if we only use the theory from the class, it would be super boring. And also the toolkit is called Inspiration Design Toolkit. So it'll be inspiring, live relevant driven, and also like kind of connect to people's everyday life. And then the cool part about this experiment, and we also think about why now we're the only person provide the content. We should let the student provide their content and their ideas. So we also provide the template for them to create their own cards for the purpose of learning and document their journey of this course. So you can see luckily we gathered more than 4 participants, but here I would love to share 4 of them. Like it's very, we're very like touched when we see this on post on the form, because they kind of tell us like the class content or the class learning format should be more diverse, not just focus on like the old version or like traditional way of learning process. And yeah, so okay, this is a bit fast. So for the future work, we try to think about future work. So the next step is we try to think about like 3 aspects, like product, process, and people. How do we scale the influence of the car, the toolkit, by increasing the content and adaptability that even like through this platform change the course topic? Or what are the critical design principles and key considerations for creating a digital physical self-learning toolkit connect to the course content? And for people side, we try to think about how can we create like a comprehensive, like for example, like that means like pre-course, in-course, and post-course experiences and human-centered participants' learning journey by understanding the demographic differences. I mean, like it's more inclusive, right? We have to think about the gender, the age, level of professional experiences, and preferred way to access the information with the help of this toolkit. And the summary is like, we also use 3 like keywords as a way to summarize this, like process, product, and platform. And we need to definitely need to think about this in the context of user experiences, like how participant learning their learning process online. And then we also want to, for the product side, want to use more like live relevant examples on this for this toolkit, and try to trigger or like motivate participants' curiosity and learning motivation. The platform, like we really want to use this. We view this product is not just the product itself, also try as a piece of way to bridge the gap between participant and the teaching team and create a better human-centered learning experiences. So that's the next step we want to go to, and these are the references. Yeah, so that's mainly what I want to share with you all today. I know we still have 5 minutes left, but yeah, any question, thought? I know I can't see everyone right in the webinar. It's fine, but I just wanted to say very thank you and appreciate that me
Just quickly, if you unshare your screen, you should be able
Okay.
to view everyone.
Really cool project, and it's tough to make it happen and make it real.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your work with us. I don't think there's any questions that have come in through the chat or Q&A function as of yet, but I actually did have one or two questions for you just as we look to wrap up in the next couple of minutes. So I think the first one, you mentioned being the only designer in a room full of people, with a background in the military or with NASA. I'm curious to know, as a designer, kind of how did you work to collaborate in that type of environment and, share your story and make your voice heard?
Yes, my God, that's really painful. It's really painful. That's like such a great question. It's, I mean, like, because we're different ways of thinking things, right? And then I think the way I'm trying to convince them is not just telling it, through showing them the ideas, showing them the visual, the result. So when I try to discuss the key takeaway for each car for this class, for this online classes, it's it's really hard because they're thinking so fast, and then I'm typing so slow. So every time they're always ahead of me. And I realized, okay, that's not fair. I'm trying to reverse the conversation. Let me draw first, and then let me prepare the things I want to talk, and then you guys could co-build with me together. Yeah, and then that kind of makes the interesting balance and tension. Like, oh, this is not the right visual. I think this should be doing this and that, and then I kind of understand where did they really understand my ideas, and then try to co-create this content together. So I'm also writing some content for this key takeaway. Yeah, and then that kind of back and forth, and because of COVID, everything's online, and then we really have multiple times very intense conversation, but it's in the end the result is very, very good. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's something that a lot of designers face, especially when they're in, unfamiliar settings or unfamiliar contexts. What are kind of the best approaches, best strategies to go about, making sure that their voices are heard, in the right way and when needed. I also wanted to briefly ask kind of what you see and what you understand as the value of having those different perspectives, specifically when within an academic design context.
You mean different aspect, different.
Yeah, so having different individuals with different backgrounds, different experiences, different perspectives kind of all coming together throughout that innovation process, and kind of how that facilitates better different results and kind of your experiences as part of that process.
Yeah, this is a great question. I think my tips is like, I know my superpower is brain tangibility during the design process, during the project. And I feel as an industrial designer by training, I feel we all have skill to draw, to sketch, to kind of like visualizing, to tangible everything. So that's super powerful, and I really use this as my secret weapon. Now I tell to everyone, so it's not really secret anymore. So the secret weapon is like you really try to let people know what you think through the draw, through visuals. I think that's super powerful. And then people have something to look at, to critique. Even you got negative, which is fine because you know what happened, right? It's not just, I think the intention is not just get a positive feedback, it's also to get negative feedback, to get what people think. And then all these ideas will project the thing on you, the thing that you draw. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Just before we close, we do have one last question coming in from the chat from Julius, and he's asking, how do you remain assertive so that your ideas can be considered in a team where you are the only designer?
Yeah, so like, oh my God, this is really, I remember when I'm waiting for that contract for 6 months. So I really believe I can do this, and I just need to. So this is a great question. I think as a designer, it not just like, okay, I trust myself and just do. No, I have to create the condition that is good for me. The condition that's not me is like the condition that's good for creativity. Yeah, so I'm very lucky to like professor super supportive, and also project manager also want to solve all these challenges and questions from her boss, and then that create a safe condition to allow me to make more mistake. because I'm like a troublemaker in the team, which is great because that's the only way to have creativity. Yeah, and then you have to believe you can do it.
Thank you, Sheng-Hung, so much. I think that brings us to the end of the 30-minute session. So I do want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us today as part of our program. And I think we'll just quickly move on to our next session, just in the interest of time. Thank you, Sheng-Hung.